I don't even know if it's worth doing a podcast about this because we all had this outcome. With 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Minnesota Vikings are defeating the Houston Texans 34-7. The Minnesota Vikings are about to advance to 3-0 on the season, and I'm about to advance to 0-3 on my predictions. So glad that I could motivate the Minnesota Vikings in that way. Jacob, as always, to recap and review another dominant Minnesota Vikings performance.
Is this premature with 2 minutes left? Are we counting our eggs or counting our chickens before they hatch?
That's true. Davis Mills has shown signs his rookie season that he is plenty capable of putting together a couple good drives.
Yeah. Is there anyone with a longer neck in the NFL than Davis Mills?
He does have a very long neck.
Yeah.
He's actually a talented player as a rookie. Not to make this the Davis Mills podcast.
Well, we all know what happened with the Vikings. There's nothing to really talk about there, so might as well talk about some Davis Mills.
Oh, well, Davis Mills, let's see, what's he so far? He's 5 for 6.
Mm-hmm.
107.6 passer rating.
Here, my stats are just I mean, he's almost twice the passer rating as C.J. Stroud, so the truth cannot be controversial.
Like, it cannot be. Stephon Diggs, 1 for 113 yards, 118.8 passer rating.
A smidge better.
Do we have a quarterback controversy brewing in Houston?
Might have to. Might be.
All right. In all seriousness, Sam Darnold, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 17 for 28, 181 yards. And that might not even be the highlight of the game. The highlight of the game might be when Sam Darnold walked back out onto that football field and got a standing ovation from the U.S. Bank Stadium crowd. The other highlight of the game might be when Sam Darnold went down, got injured. Every Minnesota sports fan was holding their breath, hoping and praying that he was not injured. Who would have thought?
Yeah, 3 short weeks in, suddenly everyone is, standing by with bated breath, waiting to see if Sam Darnold's dinged up. And of course, I said to my group chat, like, Danielle Hunter, and, thankfully it wasn't bad, but had he been, had there been an actual injury there,
right?
Danielle Hunter hurting Sam Darnold, and at that point, what was mostly a meaningless down, would have been pretty Vikings, pretty Minnesota of us to have a former Viking nail down our quarterback. But
yeah, well, it appears that Camus Gruger-Hill and Jonathan Grenard got the revenge over Stephon Diggs, Cam Akers, and Danielle Hunter in this ballgame. So that feels good for them.
And Cashman, too.
Blake Cashman, that's right. Cashman's a linebacker for the former Houston Texans. That's right. That's another guy that got his win over his former team. So, Jacob, break it down. Give me the goods. What was your analysis as an offensive coordinator and a brilliant football mind yourself?
Well, I think step one is the defense apparently is the best in the league.
Hard to argue it right now.
But statistically, that's what we're talking about here. I mean, offensively, very quickly, Darnold didn't even have 200 yards passing. Looks like 181. 4 touchdowns. He was good all game. I'm not saying he was bad. He was great. But it's not like he was going up and down the field for, 300, 400 yards. It's
right.
181 yards. By the end of the game, we ended up with 102 rushing yards from Jones. 39 came from that kind of, I don't want to say garbage time, but that last, towards the end of the game, he had that long run. So point being, it's not like we're running it up and down the field like crazy. Okay. But it's the fact that in the last, we'll lump the Giants in there. 6 points given up to the Giants.
Really only 3 because C.J. Ham gave him the first 3 points of the game.
Correct. Yep. Yeah, they gave him a walk-in field goal. And then 17 to the 49ers, who, again, Christian McCaffrey aside, they're still a Super Bowl, favorite. And then now you have 7 and whatever happens now with Davis Mills if he punches one in, but effectively 7 points to another Super Bowl favorite team.
Right. So 0 points in the first half.
Right. That is the story, is how dominant this defense has. Grenard had 3 sacks. What would be 3 interceptions, 2 interceptions? I think 2.
2 interceptions.
Almost had a third. It's been unbelievable. These cornerbacks aren't getting toast, which we were very worried about. Gilmore looks good, and honestly, there have not been any blown coverages. We've been getting pressure, whether it's 4 or 5 or sometimes 6 guys that we're sending just to.
And you haven't seen any outrageous, stupid plays either. No late hits. And of course, you're not going to have those things as much when you're playing so well. Like, typically, those are frustration penalties or penalties when you're just losing your mind. But we haven't seen any play where it's like, what the F were you doing on that?
Or even, pass interferences where it's a 50-50 ball and you're trying to make a play and you hit the receiver just a little bit too hard. Where it's, those things happen often just because it's very hard to play cornerback.
Right.
But we haven't really had one of those either. I mean, and we're dishing the ball around. I mean, it's been fun to watch, which is an obvious statement to say, but they are playing perfect football right now.
Right. Schematically, the Minnesota Vikings defense is so good right now. And last year, they didn't really have the players to put together the defense that Brian Flores wanted to. That all they could do was blitz the crap out of every single team and hope that throws them off. But this year, you're seeing a dynamic defense that's unpredictable. You got guys that can do multiple things. You got players on different places in the defense where it's like, okay, we're going to show 6-7 guys at the line of scrimmage, but they're also quick enough to cover wide receivers and play zone defense and do all the things that they got to do, because it's not easy pitch and catch football for any team that's facing the Minnesota Vikings right now. So it has just been unbelievable and shocking.
And how many, and then just to your point, I'm trying to find it quick. How many team sacks do we have? I mean, it's got to be, I think, because we
sacked Stroud 4 times, and then we sacked Davis Mills once. So we've got 5 sacks.
5 today, and it looks like we maybe had 7 or 8 on the season before today.
Yep.
So I don't know if I don't have the NFL stats on the top of my head, but we got to be close to the league leader in sacks.
Right. I think we were the league leader in sacks entering this game. I think we had like 11 entering this game.
Which that's a lot.
That's a lot.
And then you had another 5. I mean, this is, it's just been fun to watch. And this is, I mean, if there was ever a doubt that Flores was going to be a head coach again.
Let's hope not. Let's hope the Minnesota Vikings bring in the vault. Yeah, let's bring in the vault and give him every single dollar that he wants and make him the co-head coach. Who cares? Let him run the entire defense.
I would bet my mortgage that he's an NFL coach.
Seems like it.
Head coach after this season. Obviously it's early, but the way things are heading, someone's going to want him.
For sure. It seems like, obviously, throughout this game, it's like you're almost waiting for something to go wrong. And there was that point when it became 21-7, where I was like, there's still lots of time left. Yep. Fourth quarter, 14-point turnaround, and the Minnesota Vikings completely put that away. One of the biggest stories in the game to me, and throughout the regular season so far for through the first 3 games, has been the Minnesota Vikings' efficiency in the red zone. Sam Darnold, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. In the red zone, he had a touchdown to Justin Jefferson. He had a touchdown to Aaron Jones. He had a touchdown to Jalen Naylor. And he had a touchdown to Johnny Munt. So many times I feel like when you get a quarterback like Sam Darnold and you get a guy that, has bounced around the league for several years and is trying to find a home somewhere, typically when an offensive coordinator or a head coach gets that quarterback to a certain situation, they play super reserve. They play for the points because you don't want to have a disaster happen, which almost happened in the first half. He almost, did a little flippity dude Aaron Jones. So it's
was a little Josh Dobbsian.
It was. Yeah. There's these moments where, they have had before in the past, and you don't blame a head coach for playing for the field goal and just trying to take the points because you have a Sam Darnold guy, kind of like you're at the quarterback position. You don't want to cough up any points. But the red zone efficiency has just been unbelievable this season. And I don't think I've ever seen anything like it from the Minnesota Vikings for a long time. I tweeted this out during the game. I'm not getting Case Keenum vibes from Sam Darnold. I'm getting Brett Favre vibes. Like this
Ooh.
this has gotten to the point where I'm watching the game, and with Case Keenum, I was surprised at every single point. With Brett Favre, I expected the Minnesota Vikings to put up points. I was not worried when Brett Favre dropped back to pass. And I'm at that point right now with Sam Darnold where I'm not concerned at all with what he's going to do with the football.
Yeah, I'm definitely not maybe to the point of saying Brett Favrean.
Oh, come on.
He's more Brett Favrean than he is Case Keenum. I would say. I would agree with that point. That he, to your point of simply saying, he has shown I can't say perfect accuracy, but I mean he has been accurate and he has been a great decision maker. And he's done everything that Kevin O'Connell could have possibly wanted him to do in terms of the way they're moving the ball up and down the field. And again, this is just team football. I mean, holy moly. Defensively putting him in good spots, forcing third downs, long third downs. Offense staying ahead of the chains, running the ball well enough to keep Darnold in those good positions. We've kicked and punted well this year so far. You know, Reichert bangs home a 58-yarder off the pipe.
Off the doink.
Doink, right in. You know, how many times have we seen that just ricochet off for the Vikings, right? So it's a wonderful ride so far, and now that was probably the hardest two games that we would have. Packers, Jets. I mean, I don't know. Malik Willis. I mean,
Jordan Love looked like he could have played against the Titans today, so it'll be interesting to see. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I'm just looking at Brett Favre's game log from 2009. And his first game was 14 for 21, 1 touchdown, 0 picks. Second game, 23 for 27, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And these are the kind of statistical performances that Sam Darnold has had so far this year. Brett Favre in 09 looks like he didn't throw for 300 yards all that much. He threw for 300 yards in the last week, the second to last week, middle of the year, and one or twice. Okay, maybe he threw for 300 yards more than I thought he did.
But he did, but it was a balance thing, right? Peterson was such a threat, and now Jones isn't Peterson, but he's miles better than Madison. So that teams can't just sit on Darnold waiting for a pass every single down, right? We're running the ball well enough that they have to honor both sides. And just like we said before the season started, I mean, placing your bet to have the Vikings the last undefeated team
makes sense.
It's made sense the whole time.
Yeah. I thought they would split 49ers Texans, and here they are, completely dominated the Texans. Is there a final score? It looks like there's a final score in that game.
Yeah, they ended. Yeah, they went for it on fourth down and missed it. So then we just need
34-7. So beat them by 27 points. Beat the 49ers by 6 points. And beat the New York Giants by 21 points. I mean, when is the last time the Minnesota Vikings have been this dominant? Not just beating teams, but 2 out of the last 3 games they've won, they've been blowouts, which is with Sam Darnold, without T.J. Hawkinson, without Jordan Addison. And I think going back to
room to grow.
Right, I think going back to what you said earlier, a lot of it has to do with the balance, right? It hasn't just been the Minnesota Vikings offense kicking butt, but it's been the Minnesota Vikings defense giving them short field. It's been the kicking game, knocking down kicks. And it's like, something I thought of earlier in this game is Sam Darnold has not had to play from behind yet. We have not seen that from the Minnesota Vikings. We've only trailed for 3 minutes and 26 seconds so far this regular season, and that's when the Giants went up 3-0. So it'll be a fascinating thing to watch when that day comes, when Sam Darnold is behind and the Vikings are forced to throw the ball. But right now, the offense and defense have been so in sync that everything is just playing out perfectly.
Right. If this team is, the way they're playing, if we're thinking, hey, this might be a division contender, and again, the Lions have looked so far. They've looked okay, but not the team that everyone thought they'd be so far. Packers, they're, again, fine. Hard to judge with Malik Willis. They haven't really played anybody, so it's hard to tell on their end as well. So if we're truly going to be division contenders, that's where Addison and Hawkinson are going to be vital, right? In those, when you need big drives. Right now we're getting away with Powell and Naylor and Munt and these guys, but again, it's a big difference if you have Hawkinson running across the middle on 3rd and 7
Mm-hmm.
versus Munt or Muse or whoever the heck we got out there. So,
Right.
Long term, yeah. The point is room for improvement still, which is kind of crazy to say, right? There's some more talented guys coming back pretty soon, and that's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. Bleacher Report tweeted out 1 hour ago, Sam Darnold currently leads the NFL in passing touchdowns. There's a guy that I remember, I don't know how much he put on Sam Darnold to win MVP. He put some money on Sam Darnold to win MVP, and if he won that payout, he'd win like $30,000, maybe more. I don't know. It seems like you should win more than $30,000 if you bet Sam Darnold to win MVP. But Jacob, Sam Darnold to win MVP?
I mean, if you're looking at, in theory, I bet he's probably one of the favorites. I mean, he's not going to be betting odds wise because the assumption will be that he'll fall off. The Vikings will fall off. Like, he's not going to be an actual favorite. But if you're just looking at stats and record and had to like pick a top 5, I mean, he's probably in there as of
right.
I mean, that's and like even
you have Darnold for MVP as your title.
I did. Because, I mean, in Darnold we trust. I did. A guy who's not a Vikings fan texted me and asked, so what do you do now? Like, next year, do you, like, when Darnold's getting paid by you guys, are you going to trade J.J. McCarthy, or are you going to
I do think it makes sense to extend him.
For a year?
I think it makes sense to extend him now because, you know, at the beginning of next season, J.J. McCarthy still hasn't played a single NFL snap. It's practically his rookie season in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about, you know, people are like, it's, you know, letting J.J. develop. Well, he's developing this season mentally, but he's not playing football for however many months it takes before he can get running around again, and then the months of rehab after that. So it's, I mean, it's not like JJ, in theory, he should be ready to go, so to speak, next year, week 1, but doesn't mean he's like NFL ready, obviously, because he's not going to have any practice this year, hardly. So, you know, that barely counts. But I don't know. I mean, at some point, I mean, Darnold's going to get paid by somebody, and unless the wheels fall off in a way that is completely, you know, mind blowing.
Right.
It's just a matter of who, right? There's going to be teams that want him, whether it's us or whether it's them. And for now, just enjoy the ride. Just enjoy the ride. I don't think there's anything worth. Yeah,
that's true. We do have to enjoy the ride for sure. And I think Sam Darnold also has to make that difficult decision of, okay, this offseason, if I continue to play this well, I could get this massive contract from the Raiders, whoever. Some crappy bottom feeder team, the Giants, that are looking for a Sam Darnold to continue the resurgence that he had with the Minnesota Vikings. Or Sam Darnold could make the somewhat business decision and somewhat like long-term success decision to sign a contract extension with the Minnesota Vikings this season, be on a better team for longer, be on the team that extended you or extended your career that you had success under. So I think there's got to be a real tough battle of like, okay, do I take all the money or do I take, 3/4 of the money, stay with the team that I was good with and just kind of ride it out as long as I can?
There's truth to that. I mean, think about how many quarterbacks that have maybe fizzled out, and that goes for even any sport, right? You think about NBA draft picks where they get put on a team that just sucks, and then they suck. And it's just like, well, what's the reason here? Like, were they ever going to have success? Like, look what's around them.
Right.
And there's been so many quarterbacks and other guys, too, over the years where, they're not set up for success. They're not in a position, not on a good team, whatever. I mean, even look at Bryce Young. Like, does he suck? I mean, maybe. It seems like it. But had he been in a better position to begin with, who knows, right? So
totally. You look at Malik Willis, another example. Tennessee Titans sucks. Moves to the Green Bay Packers, and all of a sudden he's 2-0.
Yeah, so situation matters, especially when you're not uber talented, right? You put Mahomes on any team, he's probably going to figure it out a little bit, right? That's just the way uber talented guys, the way they figure it out. But again, for most of those kind of mid-level to lower-level quarterbacks and other positions, right, it's what's around you. Are you able to, again, Case Keenum looked really good for a year because he had a really good system around him. Darnold's looking really good through 3 weeks. If you're Darnold, you probably don't want to leave that unless you know very confidently that wherever you're going is somewhere that's similar in terms of that tier and the coaching and the system and all that stuff that made you successful in the first place. So
right, because it's not just the season that's going to change the landscape of his career, but it's the reputation after his career too. You know, he has one good season with the Vikings. Okay, whatever. You had one good season, but you have two good seasons. You have three good seasons, and then you start to be remembered a little bit, and you're talking, you know, purple Ring of Honor kind of stuff. If he, well, I know I'm going crazy. I'm all in on this Brett Favre thing, but you know what I mean. If you put three good seasons together, then it's like, okay, we're gonna remember you for a long time, rather than just Randall Cunningham had a great season in '98 with the Minnesota Vikings.
And you can even argue, obviously, Kirk Cousins is a better version of it, but even he's kind of somebody where when things are built well around him, he looks really good. And when things aren't so good around him, he doesn't look so good, right? He's not like a Mahomes, Josh Allen level guy.
100%.
Obviously, Cousins is a better version than Darnold was so far. You know, who knows now? Maybe Darnold will get there. But just the idea, again, it's... If you have crap around you, you're probably going to be crap too.
Totally. Here's a tweet about Sam Darnold that says, Sam Darnold has 4 touchdown passes to 4 different receivers today. To begin his Vikings career, he just set a new career high with 8 touchdown passes in a 3-game span. Craziness. I don't know what was crazy. The flea flicker bomb to Johnny Munt? The Brandon Powell pickup scoop fumble for 8 yards down the field?
Yeah, that was nice, yeah.
Those are nice.
I mean, that was a heads-up play. Usually you see guys not really...
You just jump on it, right?
Yeah, just jump on it, whatever he was, that was good. No, I mean, it's the ultimate trick play, right? If you do like the double reverse flea flicker thing, and it's for your slow white tight end. I mean, they won't see it coming, although they definitely saw it coming because he was double covered.
Right. But it worked. He's still a pass interference, or the doink from 58 yards. By the way, I think that would have been good from like 70.
Yeah, he did kick. I mean, that was still. I mean, it was pretty far up there on the upright. So
that's we got a kicker. That's nice.
There's something to be said about kickers that come from places like Alabama, right? They've been through the ringer. They've kicked in all these different stadiums. They've kicked in open air. They've kicked in closed air stadiums, domes, whatever. I mean, there's something to be said about guys like that where they're battle tested and you kind of know what you're getting to some extent. Obviously, you don't know everything, but it's a good bet to make. Betting on kickers from big schools like that.
Totally. Well, Jacob, thank you for the recap pod. Thank you for discussing Davis Mills and Stephon Diggs having better passing performances than C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And maybe they have, Davis Mills will be the starter next week. Who knows?
Hey, something to consider.
Hey, one last thing.
Yeah.
How'd you think Mullins looked?
Oh, the handoff to Aaron Jones couldn't have been more crisp.
Was there?
I mean, seriously, as a backup quarterback resting for 3 quarters, I know he does like little practice snaps for.
It's still a little nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be the guy that comes in for one play and messes it all up.
I thought to myself, I'm like, I bet KOC is going to call some sort of just play action, just bomb, because he's
fake them all out. They'll never see it coming.
They'll never see it coming. The fresh off the bench,
he does have that attitude.
Also just boom.
He does have that attitude. He does have that, like, screw it, they're just doing it.
Yep, he does.
Like up 21-7, kick a field goal, puts the game away, hand off to Jalen Naylor.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, Jacob, thank you so much for your analysis in this Vikings game. 3-0.
Packers. Just like we all said, 3-0.
Yeah, I'm going to predict the Packers to win next week, too. Just going to keep it going.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to finish 3-14. That's where it is.
Exactly. Yeah, my 5-12 prediction isn't looking good, but that's all right. It happens. Right. Thank you for everyone for watching. Hit that subscribe right there.